Okay, so today we are killing time out of the house because there are a couple guys cleaning the pond. And since the pond is right in front of the house, they make a whole lot of noise, and these guys have been going nuts. The back seat is drugged because they kept barking this morning and it was driving them nuts, so I went ahead and gave them their, I think it's trazodone. And Ziva didn't get any, but she's kind of chill. She's 12, whatever. And nobody's here today at the park, or at the cemetery. So, yeah. I did a little over a mile. And it's funny because if we go all the way around the roads that go around the edge, then it's like 3/4 of a mile. So usually I pick one of the roads that goes through and just go across and then go back around the back section again. We did that, and they just all looked at me like, what are we doing and why? Taz was really trying to pull me to the car, but we did not do that. We did get our mile in. I signed up for some challenge that my walking app mentioned, and one of them, there's like two that I'm signed up for, I think. And one of them is to get like an hour of exercise outside each week, I think. I don't know. I was just like, this sounds like I can do that. Okay. So I click it, and then we don't always walk a mile or whatever with, like, when I have the dogs, obviously. And for some reason, skating doesn't count towards it. It's like, well, I skate outside, so why wouldn't that count outside or count for it? Especially since I'm not above going 2 hours on skating, but whatever. Things have gotten so kind of chaotic on the video end here lately with, not doing a whole lot of videos, and then there for a while it's like I was trying to, and then ended up throwing a bunch out. So now I'm just kind of like, I don't even know what I've talked about anymore. But that's all right. Or I don't know if I posted some of what I talked about. But oh well, is what it is. We were going to take Gracie to the zoo today. Perfect weather. Would have been awesome. And yesterday she was puking all day, and apparently today she woke up with a fever. And I'm inclined to think that some of it is stress related on the whole issue that she's literally getting ready to move at the tail end of the school year, and sucks that they couldn't wait like a month and a half and then let her finish it out, but is what it is. And so she won't be finishing it. They've lived in Texas, Arizona, Oklahoma, all those places before. Gracie has only ever lived in Indiana, so she's got some stuff she's concerned about, obviously. And then, of course, her life's changed a bunch anyway, just on the end of she used to spend a lot of time with my mom and dad, and since the whole ordeal with my grandfather being in the hospital and mom stopping everything to go donate her life force to his hopeless cause, lots of things, I guess, changed Gracie's life. But, I'd say mostly for the better. But of course, she's 8, so she doesn't know one way or another if it's better or worse at the moment, because right now it's just different and literally everything is changing. So, yeah. I kind of wonder, because I know her mom and dad talk about it at home a lot, obviously. My brother and I talk quite a bit, but, it's usually through text messaging. But he will share things that I've said with his wife from time to time. And they also frequently will do the voice texting over the phone in the car. So they'll also, have Siri read back my messages. So she's pretty good about ignoring it. But at the same time, I think she can't completely cut it out. So there's a lot of that, and she's, I don't know. I mean, everything she's known about her grandma is kind of flipped around. And a big part of that was just in the fact that me and my brother had to start setting boundaries. And as we've started setting boundaries, then we've started realizing how fucked up a lot of things were that we were completely oblivious to because it was just our way of life. And, once we started pushing back, then it's taken a whole lot to navigate the whole process on appreciating where some of your toxic behaviors came in at and working through them so you can avoid perpetuating them, basically. Right, so, the other day we were talking, okay, the original Wednesday thing was my aunt asked if today I would be able to take her and my grandma up to my cousin's house so my grandma could see the baby grandpa. And initially I didn't really have any reason why I couldn't, other than I just don't want to spend a whole lot of time with my grandmother. I'd like my aunt a whole lot, but at the same time, now that we're setting boundaries with the rest of the family, it's like there's less that I want to be involved with her as well, because she's still so completely involved with all the family drama. And she spends a ton of time with my mom and grandma too, so she's definitely affected by it. Yeah. And so she asked if I could take her and my grandma to see baby grandpa. And no, she doesn't know that I'm calling him that. But yeah. And I made a comment about that to my brother and sister-in-law the other day. And we had to specify because Gracie kind of laughed at it and it's like, do not call him that. It's like, that is very specific to only this situation. And then it's like, well, then this is the whole thing, because then why are we teaching her stuff she's not supposed to say or do behind people's backs too? That's also not helpful. But yeah. When I texted my brother and told him that I'd been asked about today, he thought I was talking about Wednesday, and he's like, well, want to go with us to do our running today? He said, we're not going to be gone real long, but it gets you, or give you an excuse to not be around them for a while. I did end up going with them. We went out for lunch and then went to Gracie's eye doctor appointment. And we talked a lot. So, the way I figured it, because I was getting ready when they mentioned that I could go with them, and then said they'd already left the house. And it's like, well, if you've already left the house and don't worry about it, then I'll just, go about what I was going to do, which was just walk the dogs. And I had some stuff that afternoon, because Wednesday's class day, and I also set an appointment for a reading with Annie before class. So there was that. But he said that they'd only made it to Starbucks, which there's a Starbucks down the road from our house. So it's like, well, he said, well, just go back to the house and wait if you want to go. It's like, okay. Because I had the thought, it's like, soon we won't be able to do that, right? It's like, soon they will be in Oklahoma and I will still be here. That's the whole thing now, too. Okay. I don't know why I'm doing this at the moment. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of feelings on this whole thing. Anyway. Since, as I've said many times, my brother's like my lifelong ally in dealing with the toxic family bullshit, and even though we've both had times where we've been around it without each other around, like, he and his wife moved back up here while I was in Alabama, and so they even had a brief time where they lived back in with my parents too. And so a lot of the stuff that I've mentioned that's kind of stressful about living there, they've got to experience a little bit of that, not quite to the same degree, but still, yeah. This will be the first time since I started working on the whole boundary setting thing. This really was not on my agenda. This randomly crying on the video thing today. And it's not... Okay, there's other stuff that I'm going to get to later that I expected I probably could. I don't know what's going on right now. This is just like... I kind of do. Okay. So I went with them. I will get to the point that I think started this, it was just kind of an epiphany that I had last night, I think, or the night before. Anyway, I'll get there. So, I spent some time with them after Gracie's appointment, which that was fun too, because I had no intention of going in with them to the appointment. I was just going to stay in the waiting room. And what happened was they got Gracie checked in, and then I said I was going to run to the bathroom, and I ran down to the bathroom, and Gracie went with me. And we came back, and then her mom went to the bathroom that was closer. You know, her mom and dad had checked her in while we were walking away to the bathroom, all that. So she'd already been checked in by the time we got back, obviously. So we get back, and Jen says she's gonna go, but she'll go to the one that's closer. My brother had to go back to the car because they had realized Jen got a phone call when we were going in, and forgot the glasses that they were supposed to bring to the appointment with them. So after they got her checked in, my brother goes back to the car after those, and right. So Gracie and I are sitting there, and the waiting room is pretty full, and it had been full when we got there, so I fully expected other people would be called first. As soon as Jen went to the bathroom, she'd been in there probably 30 seconds, and then somebody comes out and says Gracie, and it's like, nobody else is standing up. It's like, oh crap. So I guess that's us. So we started walking over there, and I was like, well, I said her mom just went to the bathroom. She said, okay, and she kind of seemed like she's going to hesitate for a minute, and she's like, you know, finally she told the person at the desk, she said, we'll go on back, and, you know, she told them what room we were going to be in. So when Jen got out there, she just went to the desk and they brought her back. So it was no big deal, but it was still like, I went back there, it's like, I have no idea what's going on, I'm sorry. It's like, I really wasn't expecting to even come in here at all. I was just along for the ride today. And it was fun. Yeah, so I'm sitting in there, and, since I didn't know the information that the girl was asking about, she went ahead and started with some stuff she could do with Gracie before Jen got there. And then Jen gets there, and then a few minutes later, then my brother gets in there too. And the front desk person had to bring both of them back separately, which was fine. But then I was sitting in there for a minute. It's like, it's crowded in here. I'm going to go back to the waiting room. And then that was all fun, because as bright and colorful as I always am, and especially that day, I had a shirt that had neon pink, purple, and green on it. It was mainly black, but it had those colors or splashes of color on it. And I don't honestly remember which. Oh yeah, I did. The pink, purple, and black leggings they have little specks of gold in them, but they have leopard pattern, and they're striped, but then they have leopard patterns on them, and I don't know, it's kind of weird. But anyway, I'm sitting. Oh, and I found this pair of boots that I really liked, and I decided I wanted to wear to class that day. And I blinged them out with some stuff for Derby. So it's got Mystic Storm on the laces, and these little metal things. And then the back has a little Cancer Zodiac thing on them. It's off the loop of the top of the boot. And they have purple laces, and they're kind of glittery. But they otherwise look like combat boots. So I got this for Christmas a couple years ago. It's I don't wear those enough. And I was all excited to wear those that day. So I have this outfit on, and I'm sitting there kind of trying to just mind my own business, be chill, and wait on them. And I'm not trying to play on social media too much or anything, but that was normally that's the thing to do when you're sitting somewhere and have nothing else to do, right? It's just doom scroll. And I've got a lot of the doom out of my social media stuff. But yeah, I was still not, especially Facebook. I'm not trying to get too involved with Facebook again. Instagram, I just try to make it small little bursts and be done with it, because like I've said before, Instagram, when I started with that one, I didn't know what to do with it other than follow a bunch of bands and musicians from the bands and actors and actresses and all that fun stuff, and pages that talk about the spirituality stuff and manifesting and positive things. Because I had Facebook since 2004, that was a lot of my church days. And so there's I've had several churches that I've been unfollowing, that I'd followed before, and other stuff. It's that's, plus a lot of people that I still have on there are still pretty active in their church situation. So it's I spend less time on Facebook because it's the more religiously oriented social media of my personal stuff, the people that I connected with and all that stuff. Instagram is more like I am now. And yeah, stuff that I'm actually interested in now. So anyway, I'm sitting there in my brightly colored outfit and my glittery combat boots. And there's this couple, I think they were probably Mennonite, and they were kind of standing a little bit a ways, and then eventually they finally came over and sat on the bench next to me, which it wasn't the same bench I was on. There was a foot in between the two benches, but still I was sitting there feeling like they were probably feeling some kind of way about sitting with me or near me. Yeah. And I just stayed looking at my phone, even when it was just the weather app that I was looking at, and there's only so much of the 10-day weather forecast you can scroll up and down or side to side through or whatever it was, before that gets old too. You know, I went shopping on Etsy a little bit, didn't get anything, I don't think, but I was just trying to keep myself preoccupied and not think about that whole situation because it was kind of awkward. And then when they all came out, we started going down to where the glasses area was. Jen went in to talk to him about glasses. Gracie was in and out a couple times. And my brother sat on a bench outside or over across the hallway. And, well, he was just going to stand there, and I was like, hey, there's a bench right there. He was like, yeah, there is. Let's sit. So we went and sat down. And I said, so that was a little awkward. And he kind of laughed because he knew exactly what I was talking about. It's like, yeah. You know, and then it's kind of funny because as I was sitting there, I had one lady that came out. Of course, you know, I got the colorful hair too. I forget about the hair when I'm sitting there in my other bright colors. But there were two ladies that went through. One commented that she just loved my shoes, and like, actually I think there were two of them that did that, and then there was another one that came through and was just like, I love all of this. All of this color. So you know, I said thanks. And yeah, it was all good, but it was still that little weird moment from the other end of it. Whatever. It was kind of funny though. So we got back to their house around 3:30, and I was like, oh, that's not really enough time to walk the dogs, because usually it takes me about 45 minutes to get to class. Don't lick my hair, please. He probably wants more water. So hold on. Okay. He's momentarily satisfied. Maybe. He thinks I stopped too soon. Oh no, I don't want you up here. Stay back there. Right, so 3:30. So I get home. I don't know what's happening with this little trunk. I get home and doesn't get any better. I was like, oh, I really wanted to walk the dogs beforehand. It's like, I can't not walk the dogs. They've been good. I assume they've been good while I haven't been home. Nobody was there to say otherwise, and they didn't get into anything that I saw. So I was like, yeah, we're going to walk. So we came over here to the cemetery, which, mind you, it's like a 5-minute drive, so it's no big deal. And then we just stayed in the front section. It was like less than half a mile. And you sit. Go back to napping. That was cool. That was a good idea. Go back to napping. Anyway, it was very quick. It was like 4:15 when I was feeding them. You don't know why you're so tired. You just don't want to sleep. He wants to sleep in my lap again. That's what he wants to do. No, you just stay there. Sit. Thank you. Just stay right there. Anyway, it was getting to be a little bit of a time crunch, and because I had an appointment at 5 in Greenwood, and it normally takes 45 minutes to get there. So it's like, I also knew that I needed to stop and get gas because this thing was at, like, it was way under a quarter of a tank. For just staying around town, it wasn't a problem, but I kept thinking I need to do that, and then I didn't get it done, right? And so it's like, I can't make it to Greenwood without stopping for gas. So that's a necessity. I think it was like 4:15 when I was leaving the house. That's what it was. Ish. I don't know. And close. Anyway, so when I do finally get out of the house, I stop at the gas station down the road, and all the pumps were full except for 3 that were out of service. It's like, fuck, what is happening? Gas was like $3.29 there. It's like, fine, I'll find somewhere closer, closer to class. It'll be fine. I got this. No big deal. Still got plenty of gas in the tank to make it this far. And so we were going. And I saw this one BP gas station in my mind, which is like, I'm pretty sure that's like before I turn on to the road that I take straight over there. It's like, I can make it that far. We're good. I was pretty sure that was the closest one that I would encounter. And it was. But then I got there and the gas was like $2.85. So that was a nice thing, for one thing. But then I would just put $20 in and went to, put $20 in. I had the thought of go ahead and fill it, but I didn't. And I was like, I was still, the entire first part of the trip, I was trying to keep myself from getting stressed out about the fact that I had such little gas in the car and was afraid I was going to be late. And I was like, okay, not going to do that. Universe can like expand and shrink time however much however much I set my attention on. So I'm not trying to shrink the time. We're going to try to expand the time. Everything is okay. I am always where I'm meant to be, when I'm meant to be there. I have the time I need. I will get there. And this is where I got kind of, got a little bold. It's like, I'm going to get there with plenty of time to spare. And then as I was thinking, it's like, also, I kind of got to pee, and I would like to do that before the reading. So it's like, okay, so I will get there with enough time to do both of those things, right? To like have time to get in there and be able to breathe, but also go to the bathroom before I connect with her. And before I got to the road, I thought the gas station was further south than it was the one thing. But the next road that came up, like I took the roundabout south. I was going west on it. And I turned south. And then after the gas station, the next roundabout, I just had like this thought come to my mind of turn here. So I turned there. And I was like, I don't know that this goes all the way through. I'm not familiar with that road. I feel like I've been somewhere else where it didn't connect all the way through, but I didn't know. So like, okay, it's fine. Everything is fine, and I would pause and kind of check in and then keep going. And it's like, am I turning here? To go to the other road? And it's like, nope, keep going straight. And it's like, all right, we're going straight. So long story short, this back and forth with my inner self, if you will, I made it all the way to the road that the store's on. It did connect all the way. And when I got there and pulled in the parking lot, I had 15 minutes. It's like, sweet. So I had all the time I needed, and it's like, all just because I like hesitated, checked in with, with my inner voice and my higher self, if you will, whatever you want to call it, and started following what I felt the direction was. And then I got there early. It's like, yes, this is amazing. And now I know a way I can go that I can completely avoid all the rush hour traffic. Because normally, okay, class starts at 6. So, I leave the house at 5 to make sure I'm there on time. And yeah, it's like I missed a whole bunch of crap that I otherwise could have gotten hung up in. It's like, see? And all it took was leaning more on the idea of I'm always where I'm meant to be. Universe can direct me however I'm meant to be there. And it's like every stop that came up, that road actually had way more roundabouts, and the other road was just way busier and more four-way stops. I was like, this is fucking magic, dude. So I was all excited, right? So I get there, and the reading was fine and all that stuff, and I told Annie that back in December they had told me I could move with them whenever they got out of here, and I said, and it helped because it helped me to be able to start thinking bigger than I had previously been able to think about, future anything. And I said, when the whole Oklahoma thing came up, I said, first off, so there's a whole issue where on the day of class last week, I didn't follow my intuition. Yeah, because I was in the bathroom getting ready, and I just heard cemetery. And I talked myself out of it and went to the park. And then, chaos ensued because that was the day the lady had her dog off the leash. And it was just, as I've said, it's one of my massive pet peeves is when people are walking their dogs in areas they should be leashed at, but they have them off leash because their dog is just so wonderful and it's so friendly. It's like, I don't care. I don't care about any of that. So yeah. Anyway, so I told her I thought that whole incident came up because it wasn't anything terrible or whatever. It was just an example of, hey, you could have avoided this if you would have listened to your intuition, right? So I said I thought that the whole point of that was really to get me ready for the Oklahoma thing. I said, because when they said, my brother called me the next day and said that Jen had taken a job in Oklahoma, I just immediately had the sense, it's like, that's not my opportunity. It's like, all right, we're just going to wait on it, But then I told her about the whole way over there and everything, like all of the pieces just falling into place. Sorry, there's a car over there. I just want to make sure she's not coming. She's parked. It looks like she's got somebody else in the car with her, but it looks like she's over there. I wasn't sure. I wasn't in her way, and she wasn't going to try to come over this way, but she's out of the car over there, so we're good. But anyway, I told her that everything was going good, and because I was listening to my intuition, and she was, all excited about that for me, and she said she felt like there were 3 other opportunities that if they were, or 3 other states they had been looking at, that if they would have taken one of those or something there, I would have been more inclined to go to it. But that one specifically, it's like, yeah, that's just, that's not for me. I mean, yeah, Florida would probably be hard to resist because, it's a lot closer to the beach and, that said, it's also a lot closer to Alabama, and I left somebody there that I have no intention of ever wanting to see again, so, and Florida was one of those day trips places, so, yeah. Anyway, class was good after that, and we went to the little Mexican restaurant afterwards. It was all good, right? there's okay, so I feel okay when I started back at the classes. It was around the time that the derby friend went weird and tried to pull me into her drama, and I ended up parting ways with her, right? Oh, don't go this way. I'm parked here, chick. Okay, she's backing. There's another way she could have looped around, so I was just like, don't come this way. But anyway, I started going to classes after maybe it might have been before, right around the same time I started going back to classes was around the time I had the blow up with the one girl. And there was a girl in class that's like, I felt like we probably get along really well. And she watches my videos sometimes, so hi. Because like the first time we really got the chance to talk, I mentioned the YouTube thing and the writing stuff, and so that's stuff she's also interested in and working on. So it's like, well, maybe not the YouTube part, but she asked for my channel and all that stuff, so I gave it to her. And yeah, so anyway, this week I was sitting across from her and her husband, and I usually tend to end up around them in one way or another. We have good conversations, right? So Wednesday, I'm sitting across from her husband. There was a new girl that came to the group that sat one seat over. There was an empty seat in between us, and I said I felt like, okay, I know when I started going, I liked when I ended up sitting next to Annie. And I frequently sit next to Annie, but I figured somebody else might also like to sit next to Annie, and Annie's chair was either going to be the one I sat in or the one next to it, which was between me and this girl. So I figured, since the new girl was there, then she might like to connect with Annie, and Annie's good at conversating with people. So, hey, I was like, I'm not trying to not sit by you. I said, but I know Annie's coming, and I figured this would probably be a good spot for her. So this is so weird. What are you doing? You just need hugs. Come back. I'll hug you. I'll hug you, drugged man. That's more drink probably. Quit puffing at me. Okay, more water. Hold on. Okay, so random side note, as my dog is chugging here. I talked about the birth date the other day. I just paused on on the 8/19. So, yeah, it's one of those. I've told you, it follows me a lot of places. So anyway, yeah. So Annie's good at talking to people, so I figured, she would probably have more to say. Plus, she probably wanted to talk to the other end of the table as well. And I could be content with just talking to my friends across the table. And also Annie. And then, as it comes around. There were 8 of us. It was fine. But, like, the only person I didn't actually, the 2 people I didn't really talk to were at the very end, on the other end. But, yeah. So, okay. All right. So yeah, anyway, I ended up talking to the guy across from me about a band on his shirt, because somebody asked what it said, and it's like the letters were really weird. So I was like, it's like, I can figure this out, but it's going to take some effort. And I figured most of it out. I got real close, and then I just said something, and it's like, close, and it's like, okay. So anyway, I think, yeah, anyway. So we talked about music for a little bit, and, he said that my shirt, which was a band shirt, by the way, reminded him of this other song that, like this album cover for this one of his wife's favorite songs. Well, I don't know if it's a favorite, but she said she loved it when I talked to her yesterday. Anyway, I took a picture of his phone because he brought up Spotify and showed me the song. It was like Ennaria, Monstarrr or something. Anyway, loved it. And it's on my skating playlist now. But yeah, like we got into a big conversation about music and all this fun stuff. And I was like, I feel like we need to be friends beyond this. And so me and the wife, well, she gave me her phone number, and then I just sent her a text, with my name. And when she responded with a little gif that was, oh my God, I laughed. It's like, I don't know how to respond to that or how to follow that up. So I think I did one of the go-to ones for me and my brother is Art the Clown wearing the springy glasses at the costume shop. I think it was in the second one, the second Terrifier movie. I sent her that, and she responded later, and she was like, "That was exactly perfect." It's like, yes. But anyway, it was kind of funny because we didn't really talk much that night, and then yesterday, I don't know if she responded yesterday and that's what started it back, or if it was after I looked up that song. I think I looked that song up and listened to it. And I was like, by the way, love this. And I said I already added it to my skating playlist. But we ended up talking for a little while. And okay, night before. Okay, one of the things Annie gave me was this manifestation sheet. And it talks about okay, if you're looking for a job, like something that I would enjoy doing, okay, things that I could tolerate working with, things that I absolutely could not tolerate working with, in certain characteristics in people or whatever. And she said, how much I would like to make, and then she said, whatever number you come up with she said, just automatically add 33% to that. And she said, and if you don't know any of these things, you can say, let the universe pick for me, right? It's like, I'm totally down with that. But anyway, I was journaling on Wednesday night, and I started having these thoughts about I started kind of thinking through this paper and the stuff that we had talked about in the reading. And then I just started going off. It's on these little tangents about, okay, what kind of situation I want to find myself in out of this one. This one where I have to live with my parents. And things that I would like to do with my space, and friends I would like in my life, and all this stuff. And one of the big things was people that I don't feel like I have to tone myself down for, and when I was talking to this girl yesterday, I was like, holy shit. It's like the sister I always wanted. It's just like, she said she apologized for sending a book, and it's like, dude, it's like, that's exactly how I text too. No problem. But it started a whole thing, then we're talking about roller skating, then we're talking about roller derby, and then we're talking about, okay, she asked what kind of, I said it was on my skating playlist. She said, what kind of skating did I do? I took a picture of my skates, and said I do my my skating, quad roller skating outside, kind of a thing. Okay. I get that you're fussy. But you're drugged, so chill. You're drugged. Just chill. But anyway, 444 at the top. He really wants to be in my lap is what that is. Oh, burping. How rude. Stay back there, please. You're okay. I don't need you in my lap. You're okay. He's not happy. Fine. Let me regret this, huh? Anyway. So, like the stuff that I had, the little blurb I wrote down for friends, it's like, she was like checking the boxes off real quick, so it was kind of funny. Leave it alone. Yes, he's on my lap now. 60-pound lap dog. Hopefully we don't hit the horn. No promises. Oh, shit. This is less than ideal. Oh, don't lick the steering wheel. That's gross. It's dirty. Anyway, not that he cares. He's his dog. Oh, I'm not fucking losing the video for potential spam. Screw that nonsense. Anyway, 555. Anyway, so, like, we bonded over all the things. Oh, when I took a picture of my skates, I said, kindly disregard the troll moon to the right of the picture, because I had this container that I'd pulled in from the garage and still needed to go through that. It has a bunch of like trolls in it. Oh my god, what is in your hair? I don't know what that is, but it's funky. I can't see it. You rolled in something. I'm betting somebody dumped chili on his back. I don't know what it is. It's gross. He's got like a couple spots that look like cowlicks, except for there's definitely something in his hair. Okay, Ziva, please stop. I just said Ziva. You can go back, lay down. That's all right. He's all right. Yeah. So I had this container that had trolls in it because I brought a bunch of Barbie stuff in that I cleaned up so Gracie could play with. But then, of course, she's not had any time to mess with any of it to even see what's in there, because she hasn't been back for a while. Hi. Yes, I love you too. Don't honk the horn, please. But the trolls I hadn't done yet. You know, of course, they all have, like, the weird synthetic hair anyway, and it's like, well, I've got to clean all this stuff. There had definitely been mice living in there at some point. I threw a bunch of things out because I finally went through it yesterday. I said, kindly disregard the troll moon. And she said something about the trolls, and we started talking about Jem, and it's like, yeah. So, I was around for the Jem era when it was, you know, big in the 80s. And I said something about, probably hadn't heard of it or whatever, and she said she got really into them in high school. Awesome. So yeah, all these random connections. Anyway, yeah, so that was fun. The thing that kind of, it's gonna get me again. Okay, so get my tissue ready. Maybe not that one. No, it's weird. I've already cried on this one. It's got pink on it somewhere. Anyway, Wednesday night, I think, was the night. It's like I got this really strong sense that okay. So my brother and his family are leaving. I think they're planning on leaving on the 18th of April. And this is a good thing. Like I've mentioned many times, it's like I feel like there's going to be a whole lot of stuff that starts once, you know, like once the good stuff starts coming in. I feel like it's just going to be like a whole lot. Just kind of like a bunch of stuff cascading in finally, right? And when I was thinking about like the part where I knew Oklahoma wasn't my opportunity, but then they're leaving, it just kind of hit me. It's like, I feel like, okay, not that I'm never going to see them again. I don't know what anything's going to look like ever. But it feels like they're disconnecting from this timeline because the timeline that we've been living in is the very low density, we can't do anything on our own kind of a thing, and we're so tightly bound to all the family drama bullshit and whatnot. So since I started the healing journey and like I've been doing this whole YouTube thing for my talk therapy, I started sharing what I was doing with my brother, and then he started making the connections too. Now, I've mentioned many times that I feel, or that I've said before that at some point, and I don't know if it was just when we were younger or if it's been as I've been like processing through this stuff later, at some point I got a really strong sense like his energy was telling me that this wasn't the lifetime that he was going to wake up. And initially, I was hesitant about telling him anything because I didn't know what of it I could tell him with that being the case, right? And I've mentioned that when my uncle died last year, the one that kind of started the whole death thing, because there's a whole lot of death in a relatively short span of time. Anyway, his was like the first one, and before he died, like I remember being really frustrated because it's like, I know at some level I'm supposed to be some kind of healer, but I don't know what that looks like. I don't know how that's supposed to play out or anything, but it's been really frustrating in the times that I've known this thing, but then I find myself unable to do anything to help. But when Dave was in the hospital, I got this really strong sense that it wasn't my responsibility to do that, to fix things for them, just because, they were temporarily in like some difficult emotional space, whatever. Basically, you don't know what somebody else's life lessons are or what their soul signed up for when they came, so you can't get in the middle of it. And it's like, I feel like that's a big part of like where the whole healing thing has been out of reach for me, is because, for a long time, I've talked about this many times too. I thought because I could feel what other people were feeling, that and I knew it was theirs, that it somehow meant I was responsible for fixing it. And what I have learned the hard way is that that is not the case. Just because I can see it, I can feel it, I know what somebody else is going through, does not mean it is mine to fix for them. And going to that whole thing with my family, like my mom and my grandpa have basically set me and my brother up so they could literally just suck the life out of us because we wanted to help, and they had no interest in being helped, right? Like, at the end of the day, they enjoyed the suffering part of it. They enjoyed dragging people into their misery and all that stuff. And like, having my entire life in that situation, it's like depleting myself over and over again because I wanted to help people that didn't want help. They just wanted to bask in the misery, and then so when me and my brother started really disconnecting, it became a lot more obvious. That was one of the things we were talking about the other day. I said, I feel like, especially how our ages when my grandparents moved back up here from Oklahoma and like all this stuff. It's like I feel like they latched onto our energy and have been thriving on our energy. I feel like my grandpa, I've said a few times, that man outlived his shoulda expiration date by like over 30 years, and it's all because he was latched onto me and my brother's energy. He was latched onto my mom's energy, who was also latched onto us. So it's like we kept getting drained by all these people. And okay, the Synchronistic page on Instagram had something. I read it for a video that I think I deleted, but the last bit of it was talking about if you allow people access to your energy that shouldn't have it, it's basically like being hooked up to a dead car battery, and it's not going to do anything except for drain you, right? And that was our life, right? So as we've started setting boundaries, like you can tell my mom is very frustrated because she's not getting the access to our energy that she used to have. And of course, she's all set on blaming my sister-in-law. But I think energetically speaking, I'm pretty confident she knows that I'm somehow responsible for it, because I started setting the boundaries. So I was like the first one to disconnect and like really back away from that. But yeah, I feel like since I know this isn't his life where he's going to wake up or whatever, according to the message I received, I just got this like really strong sense the other day. It's like he's going to a higher timeline, but it's still not the same timeline that I'm going to go to. And, I've been trying to make decisions for me where I can align with my highest timeline and get all the other shit out of the way, like collapse the other stuff out and, line up with the one that I meant to be on, I don't know. It just gave me all sorts of anxiety to start thinking about they're going to leave and I'm not going to go with them because I'm not meant to, because that's not my opportunity. But also, they're going to be on a much higher timeline than they would have access to if they stayed here and kept getting dragged back into the family bullshit. So there's at least that. But then, like whenever my opportunity comes to get out of here, and it's still like, I don't know. However, it did help the other day because, like, I feel like I'll probably connect with the girl that was new to class too. I feel like we'll connect at some point because she mentioned like burlesque dancing and all that stuff. It's like, hey, there's this stuff that I'm like, I've been interested in at some point on the journey too, and then we were talking a little bit about that. Of course, it was getting cold and we had just left the restaurant, but I said something to her about the burlesque dancing that she talked about. And then I mentioned something about, she said it was a great way to reconnect with your body and all this stuff. And I said the big thing that I've done to help on that end has been roller skating. And she's all excited about that too. So we didn't get to talk much about it. And next week we don't have class because Annie's on vacation. But yeah. Anyway, it's just that whole little dissonant piece is like, ugh. Okay. And then yesterday there was a thing. Okay. So I've talked about, I think Gem Goddess and Mayylikethemonth on Instagram. I've seen both of them talk about like manifestation and using water, right? Water manifestation. And the way they both talked about it was like, okay, write a list of things you want to manifest and put like a bottle of water on the paper, and then like every day sip from the water, right? And I think I've talked about that. I might have deleted the video, I don't know. But I have like this glass bottle that I got from, I don't know, Hobby Lobby or Michael's or somewhere, one of those craft stores, that is like perfect for this. And I used to occasionally put it out in the moonlight on a full moon, but now I'm just kind of like, we'll just bless it out of the fridge, and it's filtered because I try to avoid bottled water and all that bullshit. So I have this big bottle, and I wrote a bunch of manifestations on this paper, right? That are things that I wanted to manifest. One of them being my way out of here. One of them. Oh, I've talked about how I feel like I'm going to end up in Philadelphia at some point. And I don't think I had the chance to talk about this on here. The other day I was cleaning my closet while I was watching some of the Saw movies, and I got in the top of the closet to pull stuff out, and I found this puzzle that my aunt and uncle had gotten for me like a decade ago. It's never been opened. I was always really confused about why they got me this puzzle. Until that day when I saw this puzzle, I pull it out of the closet, and I knew exactly what it was when I pulled it out of the closet. And I was like, wait a second. It's like, it's got a bridge, I think. It's like a skyline kind of a picture, Philadelphia. It's like, they got me this puzzle, and they were all excited about it, so they thought of me when they saw it. Of course, I assumed it was just because I was into puzzles. Now I realize it's because of Philadelphia, and Philadelphia is calling me in various ways, and there it is again. And, it's funny because a lot of the stuff that I've talked about where I've like really picked up on Philly, anything, okay, not all of it, but a bunch of it has been since, it started. Okay, the Philly cheesesteak was because I went to Penn Station with my ex. This was before we got married, I think, and I just was all about the Philly cheesesteak after that. And it's like, this is kind of a weird draw that I have this much of a draw to this type of sandwich, but for some reason I am really drawn to this sandwich, and so I've had a bunch of them. But that was 2012, which is interestingly the same time frame that I found out about that I first heard the term twin flame, and knew that was somehow for me, but I thought it was Tyler, and I thought it was just something that was meant to be to never be realized, and then I think 2020, 2021 is when it came back up in various ways. Okay, so manifestation paper, right? So one of the manifestations was that that the path is clearing out, so I will be able to get where I'm meant to be going, right? And Philadelphia is on the paper, right? That I will somehow find a way to get there. However I'm meant to get there. The universe will get me there, right? And another point was that all the obstacles standing in the way of the twin flame situation would also be cleared out, right? And I've talked many times. I don't know this dude. I know who he is. I follow him on Instagram. That's what started this whole healing process mess for me. It made me suck it up and start doing the YouTube thing, because he had to be in some kind of spotlight so I could find him, but how would he ever find me otherwise, right? So on the manifestation paper, one of the things was that the stuff standing in the way would be cleared out of the way, right? And it's not new. Like, I've thought it out there, but hadn't paired it with the manifestation water until this time around. Of course, I went a long time without the manifestation water because I hadn't thought about it until Mayylikethemonth posted a thing talking about it. And it's like, oh yeah, Jim Gaddis talked about this once. I did it for like a month, but I didn't really know what I wanted on anything or for anything, any of it. I didn't know anything because there was still so much of the family drama that I was so hung up into that I didn't know, right? Along this healing process, at one point in time, I remember setting the intention as I was walking around the cemetery, 555, as I looked up, that he would, okay, when like we finally do meet, that he would know me and who I am to him. I set that intention. I remember very clearly setting that intention. And then at some point, also trying to backtrack out of that intention. But then it's like, no, I feel like that's a pretty good intention. And also that I wanted to have my own thing. So it's not like, I don't know, I don't want to just hijack everybody else's thing. And it's like, I want to have my own thing, right? Okay, so this weird thing happened. And I was torn, and I wrote about it as being torn last night. And then it's like, well, I can see this both ways, right? First. Okay, so he mentioned one day something about merch for the band, and I know you're not drinking your water, so drink your water or something. I don't know. Anyway, I just randomly commented that I've been drinking the manifestation water. And I figured he'd get lost in the comments in the other comments, right? Because I wasn't the only person that commented, which is why I was like, you know what? I probably never see it anyway, right? Until he heart reacted it, and that's like, well, I saw it. And this is a whole weird thing, but I feel like with everything that has gone on in this whole healing journey and the things that I've been made aware of, if this connection is real, there's no way he doesn't know something of me. Whether it's just my energy, I don't know. He somehow had to have recognized something of me at this point in time. And I say this because, I talked about that live stream that he did, that as he was cutting out of it, I said something and he responded, and then was like, ooh, I've been seen. It's a whole really big, uncomfortable thing. And then, like, he started showing up in dreams, and like all this weird stuff started happening, right? And so it's like, I feel like if I'm not completely delusional, and this is a thing that I am confident it is, because there is no way I would have made it to this point in my life without that whole twin flame piece being the kind of the elbow in the side, keep going, you're not done. Like, it was the reason I started the YouTube channel. It was the reason I have cried on here God knows how many times. And never mind all the times I've cried when I've not been doing the thing for the YouTube thing. I've commented a few times on things that he has said on his, his Instagram or whatever. Doesn't respond, occasionally reacts, I think at least once maybe twice. So yesterday, I get on Instagram. And, oh, look at that, he's live. Okay, so I click on it. So there's my little name. Has joined. It's like, I cannot confirm or deny that it was directly in response to this thing, right? However, I know he looked at his phone about the time I joined, and he kind of grinned. And at the time, I was just like thinking it was probably because of something that somebody else had said before I got there. 111. But as I've spent more time with it, God, 111, okay. As I've spent more time with it, I wrote in my journal last night, it's like, was that because you saw my screen name? If you saw my screen name, is that because, or that means you've had the opportunity to look me up in other spaces. And I'm confident because I know that I've received information this way. If you put the intention out there that you want to know something and then tell the universe, show me, prove it, whatever, it will. And it has. And there's a bunch of things on this. So I was journaling, Twin Flame Journal, book 11, that on the one hand, I felt like it was, he saw my screen name, that I joined the chat, and had something to do with that. And I said, on the other hand, I could be delusional. And on the one hand, it makes me a little nervous. On the other hand, that would mean he would know who I am and who I am to him, right? Which was one of those intentions that I set before we would ever meet. I don't know one way or another. But I know when he looked up and probably saw that I had joined, then he grinned. He was like, I don't know if it is or not. But then if it is, then that also takes me to that whole thing with being oh, well. I guess we'll just say this. If he has indeed found my channel and watched anything on me here, hi. And I kind of feel like that's also probably the case because, like, okay, first off, the other day I did that video and I was finally talking about the birth date, right? And how this number has followed me around so much. And it's been 4 years, but I didn't understand it until I finally made the connection that it's his birth date. And then I paused on the birthday when I stopped to give Taz more water. And I think I saw it again, like, the next time it came around. But I don't know. I know with the intentions that I've set and the whole manifestation thing that, plus I keep getting these messages of there's more going on than you are even aware of. So just keep doing the thing. But okay, so that's It's entirely possible at this point in time, right? You know, and I feel like, okay, like I've talked about his name, talked about the birth date, talked about the conversation. Oh, don't make nasty noises. We're doing a video here still. I talked about back in July how I randomly wanted to know what his middle name was, and then a name kept coming to mind. It's like I was walking the dogs here at the cemetery and, you know, mentioned it. And then I look over and this name pops off of this freaking stone. He was like, is that it? And then I'm having this whole conversation with this person in my head, right? About, you know, the name, silly nicknames, all sorts of stuff, right? And I have a picture of, and because, you know, this silly nickname and because of a movie. And then I have a picture from the last roller derby bout that I did, which was a Halloween bout. Or some, that was somebody's name. And like that was their derby name. And the photographer took a picture of me blocking them. So, and I printed that one off before this whole name thing. It was just like, hey, a picture of me playing derby where I don't look like I'm gonna cry, for one thing, but also now this nickname is right there too. So it's just like, okay. So I don't know. But I think there's a lot more going on than I'm even aware of. And, you know, I've talked about how I've had a few things that have kind of like been a little, okay, like the one thing he said on, I think, a story or reel or whatever the shit is, I don't know, that triggered me briefly, right? And it was something that was completely not actually pertaining to me, but yet still, like, the only way it pertained to me was the fact that I'm female and thus allow myself to fall under the girl category and Indiana. So those two pieces of information right there, right? That I came across this story, and when I saw it, it triggered me to the point where, had I not had so many damn videos on this YouTube thing, I had a moment of actually considering deleting everything. And it's like, at that point, I was just looking at my channel. It's like, I have well over 100 videos at this point in time. There's his birthday again. And there is no way that I'm deleting everything that I've done for this one little thing that triggered me on these 2 points that are so vague that they're really irrelevant. But what the hell is this, dude? Did you roll in chili? My dad probably dumped it on his back. It's gross. But yeah, like, old me, the triggering bit, I was even thinking about that a little bit earlier, like when I was walking the dogs. It's like, how many things have changed along the way and kind of pushed me in the direction of, I can't do that anymore. And I'm not willing to, you know, I've spent my whole life trying not to be noticed. You know, and I've talked about how, God. Okay, so I read this thing the other day, and it was talking about like 30 ways or 30 signs that somebody has experienced a bunch of trauma in their early years or whatever. And one of the things the guy said was, really uncomfortable with compliments because they seem to be waiting for the thing that comes after the compliment, you know. And I've talked about, you know, when I was walking down the hall the one day back in high school, and my mom calls me in her room just to say, "You're a very pretty girl, but you don't act like it very much." It's like, you don't have to say anything. Why did you feel the need to say that thing? You know, but like, that's been my life. My mom was always, if she had something positive to say, she was going to follow it up immediately to kind of like slap you back into your place, kind of a thing. And, you know, obviously, since, okay, narcissistic grandfather, narcissistic mother, narcissistic ex-husband, yeah, got lots of those, right? So, oh boy, okay, there is a guy walking his dog at the top of this hill, and Taz just turned his head that direction. Okay, luckily the guy's vehicle's also, it's like the next path, so hopefully they don't come this way. But anyway, that's a big thing. You know, like, I've had people, you know, Ben will occasionally comment on how I don't take compliments very well, because he tries to be very complimentary and, you know, uplifting for people and all this stuff. And, you know, I always like turn it into a joke or something. And he's like, "You don't take compliments very well." It's like, no, I don't. I know this. It's because you're always waiting for like the next thing, like, because it's never just the good thing. And there's always like the part where it slams you upside the head and it's not so good after all. And my stomach is rumbling. I haven't eaten anything. It's probably, what time is it? It's 2:00. We've killed a lot of time. But yeah, just like all these little things, like all along the way. It's like where I would have shut down this whole thing, stopped doing the thing, because who knows if it got somebody's attention or whatever, right? And it was funny because, like, one of the things I've been thinking about is, like, even with this whole YouTube thing, it's like, okay, I didn't know what to do other than vlog. And that's a big point of what I'm supposed to do, I guess, because it's really me making sense for me and talking about what I've been going through and putting it out there in that format. And it's like the initial stuff is almost always boring. And I feel like a big part of that is because I don't want just anybody having access to my energy, right? So I figure if you make it to the end of the video, then maybe there's something you connect with, you know, and it's not going to be something that comes back to bite me because somebody found my shit. You know, and that's like usually the more interesting stuff, or like the fact that he grinned because he saw that my screen name was there, that I was there, and that was the thing. I don't know. It's kind of scary, but also kind of exciting in a way, because, you know, absolutely I believe that the universe is not above doing that for me. Because the universe has, after all, been the reason that I have been on this whole journey, and why so much, you know, why there's so much of this has involved. Don't come this way. He's coming this way. Fuck's sake. Yep. That was as awful as I knew it was going to be. The guy comes on this road right in front of me, just to walk right past us in the car, and the dogs look up, and, you know, Taz looks up because he's readjusting, and then sees the guy there, and then they're all on alert. Now the guy's way over there, but I was just holding Taz. He's now stolen Ziva's spot, and Ziva has moved to the back seat. Sorry, ZB. But yeah. I love these dogs, y'all. But anyway, yeah, but like, everything that's going on that the universe is doing for me, a lot of it I'm not supposed to know about because I do panic and I do kind of backtrack and like, oh, stop that, nasty. Like, you know, I talked about thinking about deleting my thing and then realizing that I've done so much on it that I wasn't okay with that. I wasn't okay with just throwing everything away because I had a meltdown. But yeah. And I've also talked a lot about how the whole point of this journey has been wrapped up in me learning to trust myself. And, you know, when I started this channel, I did not start immediately talking about the twin flame stuff. Nope. That took a while to get to. I think it ended up kind of slipping in March because it was relevant, and then as it slipped the one time, then it became increasingly more relevant, and then it kind of became a thing that I felt like I was supposed to talk about more, and so I did talk about it more. It has to slurp some more. You know, and then I said back video 123 that I did on January 4th, because 1, 2, 3, 4, was the first one. I almost said his name then, but I still panicked and backed out of it. But I set the intention that I was ready. But then I did eventually say his name in the video. I try not to release too many details at a single time. That'll come up eventually, but yeah, but like the whole thing is just like, I have long had the tendency of shrinking and trying to not exist because there was too much pain involved in existing, you know. So like, now that it's a possibility that somebody else might be aware that I exist and that I've actually talked about him on here. Yeah. Like, I felt, I kind of hedged around for a long time about the birth date. And then I did a video the other day because it was like nagging me. It's like, you're supposed to do this. And then finally I did it. So now I've mentioned it in this video, you know, so I don't know anything, y'all, other than I do have to pee, so I'm gonna go ahead and go home. My poor Zibbly's sitting in the back seat. She doesn't like it back there. Taz is using the door, or the armrest on the door as a headrest, and they don't see the guys. Well, Gidget does. She's totally aware of the fact that he's over there with this little spaniel monster. Anyway, yeah, I gotta pee, so I'm gonna go home. As always, I appreciate you. Until the next time, see ya.